It's Preservation Maryland's 75th anniversary, and that's cause for celebration. From Garrett County to Worcester County, Preservation Maryland is helping to make our communities more economically viable and more livable. Preservation Maryland's Baltimore headquarters and adaptive reuse of old St. Paul's Episcopal Church Rectory is a very busy place. Here, staff administers one of the state's most far-reaching preservation grant programs, informing members and partners about preservation issues, advising on technical aspects of preservation. Preservation Maryland also advocates for public policy that protects our heritage. Preservation Maryland was founded in 1931 as the Society for the Preservation of Maryland Antiquities, or SPMA, to honor the bicentennial of George Washington's birth. Its early years were devoted to saving historic properties and to creating government agencies dedicated to historic preservation. As one of its first projects in 1947, SPMA became associated with Hampton, the estate of the Ridgely family. Located near Towson, this Georgian mansion was built between 1783 and 1790. The property includes extensive gardens, a farm complex, and slave quarters. John Ridgely Jr., who inherited Hampton in 1938, wanted it to become a national park. Hampton was the first property to be accepted by the National Park Service based on architectural merit. The house and gardens opened to the public in 1949, managed by SPMA until 1979. Pharmaceutical executive Eli Lilly, whose mother was a Ridgely descendant, gave SPMA $1 million. His generosity provided the financial stability vital to SPMA's future role as a leader in historic preservation. SPMA leaders played important roles in the founding of the National Council of Historic Sites and Buildings, the forerunner of the National Trust for Historic Preservation. These same preservation pioneers helped create the Maryland Historical Trust in 1961, 5 years before the Federal Preservation Act. Preservation Maryland and the Maryland Historical Trust have maintained a relationship that's a national model for cooperation. Experience with Hampton led Preservation Maryland to protect historic treasures such as the Wye House Cemetery in Talbot County, which dates to 1684. Wye House has been in the Lloyd family for 11 generations. Other structures on the property constitute one of the most significant collections of historic buildings in Maryland. SPMA also played a key role in restoring the Wye Orangery, considered to be the most complete example of an 18th century orangery surviving in America. In 1953, SPMA was asked to manage Sotterley, an 18th century plantation house in St. Mary's County. 9 years later, SPMA turned management over to the Sotterley Mansion Foundation, which continues to provide educational programs and visitor activities. A grist mill is operated on the site in Queen Anne's County since 1682. The current mill is the state's oldest working mill and produced flour for Washington's army during the Revolution. In 1956, the state of Maryland gave Wye Mill to SPMA, which carried out restoration work and educational programs. 10 years ago, the Friends of Wye Mill assumed ownership, a result of Preservation Maryland's strategy to form partnerships to maintain and operate historic properties. In 1955, historic Rogers Tavern in Perryville was so dilapidated that its owner, the Pennsylvania Railroad, was ready to tear it down. George Washington's diaries relate his several visits to this humble structure. Washington's troops crossed the Susquehanna here en route to their victorious campaign at Yorktown. Other important early visitors were Thomas Jefferson and James Madison. Local civic and patriotic organizations formed the Friends of Rogers Tavern, which persuaded SPMA to buy the tavern. After many years of restoration work, Preservation Maryland transferred ownership of the tavern to the town of Perryville in 1993. Today, Rogers Tavern is a museum. Waverly is another 18th century structure that had fallen on hard times. Owned by John Eager Howard, Revolutionary War hero and Maryland governor, Waverly later belonged to his son George, who also served as governor. Waverly was donated to SPMA in 1975. Lobbying by the organization secured significant government grants for Waverly's restoration. In 1989, Waverly was deeded to Howard County, which continues to use the restored building for educational programs and social events. These and other efforts transformed SPMA into a national leader in preservation. To reflect the organization's changing focus, SPMA began doing business as Preservation Maryland. Today, outreach, funding, and advocacy are the organization's most effective tools. Helping to preserve Antietam Battlefield, helping to save Baltimore's Arabbing tradition, helping Chestertown defeat Walmart, saving the Oakland's B&O Railroad Station, helping restore the Patterson Park Pagoda, rescuing America's last commercial sailing fleet, the Skipjacks, helping to restore Thomas Point Shoal Lighthouse. A redevelopment plan called for the demolition of 150 historic buildings in Baltimore's once thriving West Side neighborhood. Coordinated advocacy led to the National Register designation for the West Side. Leveraging federal and state heritage tax credits, the area attracted major investment. As a result, massive demolition was prevented and the seeds of revitalization planted. With the Hippodrome Theater as its centerpiece, the West Side is coming back. Baltimore boasts the largest redevelopment effort of this type in the nation. With the rapid decline of tobacco farming and development pressures, Southern Maryland's tobacco barns are threatened by neglect and demolition. Preservation Maryland received a Save America's Treasures grant, which is helping to restore these unique buildings in 5 counties. Among Preservation Maryland's most important work was the creation of the Heritage Structure Rehabilitation Tax Credits. Since 1997, more than $650 million in tax credits have been awarded. These benefits extend beyond credit recipients to the neighborhoods and communities where the properties are located. In 2004, Preservation Maryland helped prevent this tax credit, one of the nation's most effective, from expiring. Preservation Maryland has supported the state's nationally recognized smart growth initiatives, which direct development to areas offering infrastructure and transportation and keep urban and community centers vital. The Value of Historic Preservation in Maryland, published by Preservation Maryland, is considered a model study of the economic benefits of historic preservation across the state. In 2001, the National Trust for Historic Preservation gave its Trustees Award for Excellence to Preservation Maryland. The Maryland Association for Nonprofit Organizations has recognized Preservation Maryland by conveying its Standards of Excellence certificate. As the nation's 3rd oldest statewide preservation organization, we are well qualified to face the challenges ahead. Please join us in our work to preserve Maryland's heritage for future generations.